Waves Platform is a decentralized platform with loads of real-world solutions running on blockchain. Wavesnode.net is providing a professional node on the Waves platform, hosted in our own data center. If you are holding Waves tokens, you can lend them with the LPOS system to our big node. The leased tokens are always in your account and under your control. It is like leasing staking power. By leasing on our powerful, stable and trustful node, you are generating transfer fees and will be rewarded with Waves. The bigger our node's balance, the higher your rewards. Wavesnode.net can help you achieve increasing your stack and making the Waves platform stronger in just a few easy steps. So please, open your Waves Lite client and lease your tokens at wavesnode.net. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at wavesnode.net.
Mechanics and how this thing was going to work. Do they even have developers? And so, well, I found Pete. Pete is the developer. Pete is on with us now. Say hello, Pete.
Hello. I'm talking to you from Sydney, Australia. I'm very happy to be here to chat to you a little bit more about Incent and all that good stuff.
Cool. Well, at the moment, there was some skepticism about, if you guys even had a developer, and I'm happy to see that you do. So it gives me more of a grasp that this is a tangible type of technology coming out. Because we could listen to Sasha and we could listen to the brainstormers all day, but a lot of geeks want to know how this is going to work from a developer's point of view. So at the moment, we are live. We have quite a few people listening already. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? Do you have any partners, other developers that work with you?
Yeah, so a bit of background. Why not? Well, as if you can tell by my accent, I'm originally English, but I've been in Australia now for pushing 15 years. And I've got a varied background in development. Back in the day, from when PHP, the programming language, actually stood for personal homepage, and sort of developing web applications through the .com boom, through the Web 2.0 revolution, through the app revolution and the app stores, etc., etc. I've got a fair bit of agency work under my belt, working for all kinds of clients, big and small, doing all kinds of things. But that's my background. So I'm originally from London and I've been in Sydney for quite a long time. I've been involved in BitScan for 3 or 4 years. And we've got BitScan was actually developed by an agency I used to work for, and we now sort of BitScan continues development. I'm full time on BitScan Incent, and I work with a variety of contractors, and one of the reasons to ICO really is to sort of expand that team just a bit to really take advantage of the enormous opportunity. But yeah, it's a real team here. We feel we've covered some great ground. We've now got a really good opportunity to get this to market, and I guess that's what I'm here to talk about.
So you're a PHP junkie?
Yeah, I mean, yes is the answer. Nowadays, there's quite a famous blog post called "PHP: A Fractal of Bad Design," which I recommend everyone takes a look at because it's spot on. PHP is a tool. It can be done very, very well, and it can be done very, very badly. I think the time is sort of past really where developers used to ask each other, "Hey, what's your stack?" And you'd say, "Oh, I'm an ASP guy. I'm a Microsoft certified guy. I'm this. I'm that." Nowadays, since I guess since APIs and since services became so effective and so available, it sort of matters less. But there is still the web app for Incent is built on PHP using a framework called Slim, which is just what it says on the tin, a nice slim framework that takes care of business and lets you rapidly iterate, rapidly develop all manner of functions. Yeah, so that's that.
Do you believe that online apps is a wave of the future?
Well, sort of. I mean, it's you've got to be careful what you mean. I think your services, if you're so in Incent's case, what are we doing? We're buying, selling, transferring, issuing. The bulk of that, the Incent token itself, which is a cryptographic token like Bitcoin or NXT or Waves or like any of these things, that's all handled by the amazing system which is Waves. So those transfers occur. Now they'll happen via either via an API basically, but the what we will develop within the Incent team is the user experience and probably some APIs to allow other integrations and stuff, and that will all exist on the web. Yes. So short answer, yes, it's going to be very important.
What is this Incent thing you speak of? What is this? Is this a token? What is it? I could barely hear you, but
okay, I can speak up.
There you go. You must be touching the mic or something.
Yeah, I might have been. Sorry about that. So, what is this Incent of which I speak? Well, it's a cryptographic token. It's a little bit like a Bitcoin, but it doesn't exist on the Bitcoin blockchain. It's owned by a user in a wallet, and it exists on the Waves blockchain. So what are the benefits of the blockchain? I suspect I'm talking to people who really know what they are, but let's just cover them anyway, which is that it's a trustless, immutable record of everything. So if I were to give you, Luke, say I transferred 10 Incent to you, to your wallet, you would then have cryptographic control of that 10 Incent. You could give 5 of them away to someone of your choice. You could give all of them away. You could use them with merchants once the system's up and running. But the point is that I can't centrally change the fact that you've got 10. That's the power of the blockchain. You've got those 10. You've got the private keys. You're in charge. You can transfer them whenever you like. And so to that degree, Incent is it's a store of digital value. It's a crypto token, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So what will give Incent token the value? What's that value based?
So first of all, it's tradable in the same way that any crypto token would be, or any asset would be. So the value, to a degree, comes from the market in that sense, that it's traded. But our point of difference really is that we think that the really exciting opportunity is by having, we see our job as developing commercial arrangements with merchants. So what we're in the process of doing is talking to all kinds of people, big and small, and you can read further about this, but all kinds of people about so using Incent as their loyalty program. So for example, if you want to buy something from a store, they might say, spend $100 and we'll give you 10 Incent. And then they might also say, look, if you want to buy this $20 item, we'll offer 50% off for Incent. So those 10 Incent that you've just got, you can then spend with that merchant to buy that item. So the big point of difference is that we've been developing and really pushing these relationships with commerce, with the commercial, with the merchants, with the people who are actually buying and selling stuff. And what we want to do is to get the Incent, get this crypto token really active. It probably has value as an investment class thing. Buy it, keep hold of it, and the market will tell you what the price is at any given moment. But the real difference and the exciting bit is from it just getting used and the numbers of transactions going up and up and up as merchants come on board.
So this token, will it have its own blockchain?
It will not. It will be issued on the Waves blockchain, which is if you've never heard of Waves, I suspect most listening probably have, but Waves is sort of built with exactly this type of application in mind, and we're really excited to be working closely with them. They're a fairly new system, new blockchain. Also, I think as we speak, their mainnet is just coming live. They're just sort of commissioning nodes and getting that up right now. So the blockchain side of things, in terms of if you want to learn more about the security, the nature of the blockchain, how it's, all of that sort of stuff, all of that is powered by Waves, which is a fantastic system developed. I won't bang on about Waves because it's slightly off this subject, but suffice to say, Incent is a token on the Waves blockchain.
Gotcha. So it works off that blockchain. And I heard somewhere in the past something about proof of stake. How does that work with somebody else's?
Yeah, so proof of stake versus proof of work is the sort of general subject. One of the problems, now I should also give a bit of background in terms of BitScan. We've worked with all kinds of people in the Bitcoin space, and we've worked with, principally through the creation of a really large, I think the largest and probably the best directory of Bitcoin providers. But one of the problems with Bitcoin's blockchain, and it sort of to a degree stems from it from being a proof of work blockchain, meaning that you have to do work the work has to be done to show that you've solved the hash, to show that, to create the block, and then it goes on. It's timing and scale, and that you'd heard that around, and what's the deal there basically. And I'll give you the really short version, which is that part of the problem with Bitcoin, integrations for merchants, etc., is the speed, the way, how long it takes transactions to be confirmed. And obviously there's lots of great solutions, or lots of very clever people and great companies working on ways to improve that and working on solutions. But the point is they're workarounds. They're having to find these solutions. The advantage of Waves and looking at it's not just proof of stake, but the advantage of using a sort of next gen blockchain like Waves is that those issues go away. Proof of stake means that you can. It's one of the ways. It's not a cure-all. It's not just because it's proof of stake that it works brilliantly, but when it's done really smartly and really effectively and executed really well, what you get is much easier to scale to speeds of the transactions, and the scale, so the number of transactions you can process go up exponentially. You can handle a lot more.
Gotcha. So this proof of stake, that's really something being done on the Waves side, right? Since you're a token of Waves.
That's exactly right. The Incent token actually inherits a lot of its properties from Waves, being that that's the platform it's on. So when you've got your 10 Incent, that is the blockchain, and loot 10 Incent, if you like, that kind of value is distributed around the Waves nodes. So it inherits all of its sort of security and all of its cryptographic properties. All of those things come from Waves.
Very, very cool. And then in the future, when they get multi-sig, you'd be able to implement that in your technology also, right?
Yeah, I mean, multi-sig's one thing. There's also the asset exchange, decentralized trading, all these sorts of things. There's actually the more you learn about Waves, the kind of it opens your eyes and your mind a bit about the possibilities. And it's a great team. So we're really thrilled to be able to sort of get in there now, get this token out there, and get it taken up by commerce, by people, merchants, and by consumers buying and selling things, and then lots more good stuff to come around the corner. Yeah, as Waves evolves.
I just I just want to pick your brain for a second. Since you're a developer, like, I heard that one of the best features of Waves is the fact that it's made in a language called Scala. Can you you tell me more about the differences? Like, what's the advantage? Aside, all the other ones use what, C, and NXT uses what, Java. Like, what makes Scala such a great thing?
Well, in and of itself, I'm not an absolute. I'm not a massive fan of sort of defining the quality as coming from the language. Like I said about PHP, one thing that you can do in PHP is you can write terrible applications. You can also write good ones. The more certain languages, applications, they'll at least be sort of the data within them or the way it works is a bit more structured. Now, the whole Waves and Scala thing, it really comes down to Sasha's background and experience, and the needs of a blockchain do match quite closely the needs of currency trading. Digital tokens and currencies, the way they behave and the way they need to be exchanged, some of the problems that you need to solve to have a good blockchain have been asked and answered already in the development of currency trading applications. And I'm not experienced in Scala, but my understanding is that's where Scala comes in. That particular language is sort of has evolved around meeting the needs of this hugely high value system, which is currency trading and the shifting of currencies around the place, and that it's sort of baked in a lot of the problems that you find in exchange development or blockchain development. Scala is more geared to solve them more elegantly and more quickly. And really, as a dev, what you're looking for is this, the elegant, simple solution. You want to be doing as little as possible to keep those tram lines. It needs to be clear and it needs to do exactly what it says on the tin, and you need to manage the risk of unintended consequences. And that is my understanding of why Scala is such a good fit. Like I said, there's then exactly how it's done, which is, of course, you can look further into Waves. But it's not only a good fit as a language, but it's also executed very, very well.
I heard that there's a rumor that people are saying that 80,000 lines of C code could be written in like 4,000 lines of Scala.
You tend to get people that get into their languages tend to make all sorts of claims about them that it's clearer, it's easier. Do I have to define a variable? Do I have to type it firmly? Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I would be skeptical a little bit of lines of code. I'd be looking more at things like, is it clear? I mean, you boil it down to it ends up being, is English any better than French as a spoken or written language? Well, who knows? The French have been doing all right for years, and so have the English. It's more what you say and the way you say it than the specifics of the language. Having said that, I'm sure it's true. I'm sure Scala probably rocks.
Hey, I have no idea. I never heard of it till now. So the website's going to be written in PHP, which is web code, and like I've built a few websites in my time, and I do understand that there is some type of database that needs to be used. Now I'm concerned about this database because they're getting hacked all over the place. Like what's to stop anybody from hacking your database?
Yeah,
if there is one. I don't know your solution.
Yeah, so first of all, the token itself, as we've discussed, lives on Waves. So the private keys, etc., the value, if you like, will only be available to the user through their Waves or through their Incent wallet on the Waves blockchain. Now, what sort of things do we do? Well, we do interfaces to allow consumers to see their balance. We allow interfaces to allow consumers to browse products or offers that are being made for Incent. And obviously, to achieve that, yes, we have a PHP app, but we need to store some data somewhere. And we're pretty pleased with the way we've gone about this, which is that we're using Firebase. Firebase is now called Google Firebase, and it's well, first of all, take a look. But instead of the traditional kind of installing MySQL and running a database on a server, and then that inherits a whole bunch of problems like, okay, you've got injection attacks, you've got denial of service attacks, you've got to keep the operating system on that server up to date and patched. You've got to make sure that if you're allowing uploads, for instance, that customers aren't able to upload malicious scripts or even images that contain malicious scripts, etc., etc. And it's just, what we know is that if that's down to me in Sydney or an Incent sysadmin or something, it's vulnerable because we're not, our role is not to maintain servers. It's not to patch MySQL. It's none of that stuff. So what Firebase do, they're a real-time database. So the benefits you get are this enormous scale straight out of the box. you get the security infrastructure, which is managed, run, installed by it's Google's security. So in terms of Incent user credentials, it's all done sort of what we'd consider best practice from here on, which is where they're authenticating with Firebase, and then their data lives there. It's all in the cloud. It's incredibly quick. It allows us to quickly integrate with some really cool search stuff that we love. A system called Algolia, which I could talk a bit more about. But the answer to the basic question is that no, we're not maintaining a database. We're using Firebase, which is then everything is stored in the cloud from there on.
How secure is that? I mean, is there two-factor authentication?
Well, we've got choices there. The Incent app is there's a sort of version 1 of it out there built right now that you can explore, and go take the tour on Incent incentloyalty.com, and you'll see there's a tour button. You'll see you can see that the app is there and have a little look around. The answer to the security is it will be up to us. The things to know first of all are that the passwords don't hit our servers. So the passwords are done directly through the browser connection to Firebase securely. So that's sort of best practice the way it is at the moment. In terms of two-factor authentication, will we implement that before things like Incent transfers or sales? The answer is probably. But those sorts of decisions we'll make. We do have that ability, and we'll probably make all of those decisions post ICO as we get the first issuance out the gate, and we look at sort of firming up the UX for sort of our first major release.
Nice. It sounds pretty good. I like best practice. I've worked in the corporate world a long time, and it's all about using the best practices. And those are updated regularly. So what you did last week may not be best practice for this week, right?
Well, exactly so. And that, again, that's another benefit where, I mean, Firebase itself underwent a big revision. It sort of moved from Firebase. Well, it's had its version 2 to version 3, so a really big release, and almost everything changed, or just they just sort of get into a better state on which to build on. Probably worth saying at this point that we're an agile team, so this will be very common. This will be well understood by any developers listening. But the idea of continual integration and working in an agile fashion is just absolutely vital nowadays.
Yes. Yep. I know agile very well. It's a big corporate way. It's kind of like a way of they're kind of abandoning the old way of having a structure, of having people that are on top of you, and it's more of everybody working together in one area, or being flexible enough to change on a whim if somebody has a beneficial idea, and everybody gets involved with that beneficial idea, and then whatever it might be, working from home, you can work from home, and if that's beneficial and cost effective, then that's what they're going to do. So it's agile means any way of utilizing any method outside the box to better make a better experience for the customer, and at the same time more beneficial for the seller.
Yeah, and specifically in terms of software and in terms of the Incent wallets, etc., also means rapid iterations. So lots and lots of continually pushing improvements, continually pushing big and small improvements around the place, and that sort of ties in. That you're familiar with agile from a corporate perspective. I've just talked about it from a software perspective. It's really important that crypto generally starts to really get this, because what will unlock the value in blockchains generally and the value in crypto generally is getting it out there and getting it used. And this approach where so our plan is we have the existing relationships with the merchants right now. We're talking, we're getting there, and we're finding it that if we take this agile approach where we say, well, try this, why don't you, instead of running 20% off, run 10% off and 10% incent. And as this sort of way of working is immersed, as it's percolating through the corporate world, we're finding people sort of going, oh yeah, that's a good idea. Let's try it. Let's see how it works with this small rate, and that's really our sort of core mission. Is we want to start with loyalty, but to really encourage the volume, the number of crypto transactions to up and up and up, and then people will really see the benefits.
Gotcha. And so this is a web-based platform. There's a lot of web-based platforms out there. I'm talking about content management systems used to sell things, sort of like Magento or Shopify, right? How is it going to be? Is there going to be a plugin for those types of content management systems? For the web developers who like to use those type of management systems?
Yeah. So, basically, let's just nut down now to what on earth Incent is basically. And the idea of Incent is that it's an incentivizes people to buy things. It incentivizes the consumer to spend more. It's a digital loyalty program. So if you're selling something online, say you've got a store that sells T-shirts, and your store might well be on Shopify, Magento, or BigCommerce, any one of a number of platforms. What we do is come in and say, okay, you can now configure an incent reward. So your customer's going to get every time they buy a T-shirt, they're going to get 10 incent. And your question originally was, will that be achieved through plugins? And the answer is yes. We will develop in-house a number of plugins, and we will also publish and nurture a broader development community to extend that work as well, in a fairly open way. So, for example, if the Incent web app contains sufficient APIs and it can be made to interface cleanly and easily, then there's nothing to stop a press to cart developer coming in and saying, look, I've built this press to cart plugin. They don't even need to tell us. They can just build the plugin. We will be building our own plugins for probably Magento first or Shopify first, the sort of the big ones. And what that will do will be to just allow the merchant to configure how they want to issue, how they want their incent to work. And again, if you take the tour on incentloyalty.com, you'll see how the plugin, we've built the web app on our end, and you'll see what the plugin allows you to do. But the short version is yes, it will be when you're talking to merchants. But the phrase blockchain probably will get mentioned because lots of people are now really interested in blockchain. Very few of them have the faintest idea what it is. A lot of people think it's just a database. A lot of people
they don't even know what Bitcoin is.
No. Well, funnily enough, Bitcoin is a bad word to use at the moment because people, it comes with a lot of baggage. I personally am a very big Bitcoin bull. I'm very I think Bitcoin's got a wonderful future. But aside from that, in terms of talking to the merchants, that they're interested in blockchain, they are not interested in. Some of them are interested in a full service, and we will provide some of that. That's where we will configure it for them, or we'll come to a commercial arrangement to do that. Nice. But many of them want to run it in the same way that right now someone might tweak their, someone will issue blog posts and someone will update their SEO keywords or something like that. They will expect, and we will deliver a similar, really easy to use interface. Essentially, you've just got you browse your product catalog, and you can set a percentage of incent reward, either globally or category or product. So you can pick one product and say, I'm going to give a 10% incent reward on here. And then, it's done.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm very familiar with SEO. And the whole theme behind it is if, you gain that page authority and, you rank really high for certain keywords, you're going to be the one getting that traffic if you're on that first page of Google. And it's an unfortunate battle because there's a lot of mom and pop shops out there that don't know how to do this stuff. I personally, offer them my service on the side, just the mom and pop shops, and it would be nice to get away from that. Honestly, it would be nice to see some type of equal value across the board for certain keywords instead of the people spending so much money to rank high for a keyword being up there. Of course, there's other ways of doing that, but that involves a lot of work. Uh, all that aside, the separate topic right there.
Well, actually, there is a bit of an analogy, because one of the things that we're excited and we really hope Incent can do is to basically allow smaller operators to sort of, it's greater than the sum of its parts in sense, because the token has value outside of the relationship to the particular store. It's got this broader application. Customers will start to value it more greatly, and therefore 15, 20, or say 20 or 30 stores, even physically located around each other, who are offering Incent, start to gain the mutual benefit. So customers start to be discerning. They start to say, well, I bought my sandwich and I got some Incent. I then bought a t-shirt, I got a little bit of Incent. I then went to the bike store and I bought a little bell that I used some Incent to buy, and start to seek it out. That's sort of the dream and the mission. So it's sort of analogous there, that you're wanting to allow smaller operators to stick at what they're good at, meaning provide a great service above and beyond, along with trusted products that they sort of their reputation is based on providing. And then this is just a little digital loyalty thing to encourage loyalty, to offer the customers even more value. So suddenly going to eBay and getting a similar thing for half the price is a great service from the mum and pop. You've got the reputation, you can trust it, and you've got digital value that you can use around the place. So we hope that there are applications in what we're doing to kind of move things back toward that level playing field, which generally I think most people think of as a good thing.
Cool. So the development is focused on an integration on all forms of POS, which is a lot of these companies, they use POS systems. What's that? Proof of no,
point of sale.
Crypto. Point of sale. Yeah, that's it. I'm thinking crypto. Yeah, proof of person. Point of sale. Point of sale system. Proof of stake. POS e-commerce systems, right? Will there be any web features available?
Yeah, well, basically the point of sale is actually it's probably more fractured a market than online selling now. So we've mentioned Shopify and Magento, and even just hitting those two, we've hoovered up a sizable percent of market share. POS has a lot more. There are a lot more providers in the space, and we will approach those integrations in the same way as the e-commerce ones, which is that we'll do some. We have a relationship to a POS provider here in Sydney, and we'll work with them to make sure that that a point of sale integration happens. We'll then allow other developers around the place to build on our APIs and to build on the Incent platform to do other POS integrations, and we'll sort of deliver it that way. What's important, if you think about what's required at the point of sale, is that it should be no harder than a customer providing some sort of electronic identity, be it an email, be it a mobile phone number, be it a tap on a phone, an app that they use on their phone. Once they do that, then it goes over to the integrations and the Incent platform's job to issue their Incent, or to onboard them to their wallet, and then they're away.
Gotcha. So I also heard that this is going to be some type of full e-commerce system. Like how is that going to work? Will there be an app for say I'm a seller? Like would I be able to use your POS e-commerce system?
Yeah. So on the e-commerce front, the main sort of push here is, we're not really going to be competing with Shopify or Magento. That's not the idea. We're not going to be going to people and saying, look, come off Shopify, come onto Incent. That's not what we're talking about.
Right, that'll be
But
impossible.
well, you never know. But no, it's certainly not. It's certainly that's a real taking on. That's a David and Goliath type battle. And to be honest,
Right.
I think Shopify particularly are doing a great job. They're doing so.
Right, and a lot of these people, they have huge databases that would be really difficult to move over.
Yeah. So what are we doing? Well, when a customer onboards, and again, I'm going to point people again to the tour just to have a look, because I've got to emphasize really that a lot of what we're talking about is, we've got these runs on the board, so to speak. It's at version 1. It's there, and it's not something that we're planning to do. It's something that we're expecting to be able to have a commercial arrangement in place with merchants. Well, the arrangement will be this calendar year, and to be honest, the way it's running, we're expecting to have Incent live on e-commerce platforms Q1 next year. So this is not, we're not starting from nothing here. We've covered quite a lot of ground already. Now the e-commerce side of it will be that once you've onboarded, so say you buy something at an online store somewhere at a merchant who's decided that they want to issue Incent. Part of that transaction, you give them your details, including your email address. Well, and then the merchant wishes to give you 10 Incent. So we then handle the onboarding. We send you an email. You then come on, you register, and you've got all your details there. Now, once you've logged on, let's talk web app first. But we've got plans for both an Android and an iOS app as well. Once you're in there, there's a few things that you can do, and this is really part of the heart of the value of Incent, is that you can see the how much Incent you've got and what it's worth. So let's say you've got $10 worth. You can then sell that on an exchange. You can cash out and receive your $10. There you go. You've been given something by the merchant for buying the t-shirt. You just want to buy a pizza now, so you cash out, and there you go. You're away. But while we've got you, we can also show you a range of the best offers for Incent. Now that's really interesting to both merchants and consumers, because of course a merchant wants nothing more than to have their product in front of eyeballs, especially in front of incentivized eyeballs who are looking to buy. And a consumer wants to know, I've got this stuff, what can I do with it? So that's the sort of the main focus of what we the e-commerce side, that within the Incent app you can browse a product, touch a button, and buy it.
It's like the age-old point system, where you smoke 1,000 packs of Marlboro, you take the points off the side of it, and you go buy yourself a T-shirt or a raft.
Yeah, it is. It's the crypto-powered digital version of that for the 21st century. Yeah.
That sounds like a working method right there.
That's actually quite a good point, because it's, of course, none of the core principles here are new or revolutionary. Loyalty is a known thing, and giving of little things away to encourage customers to come back to you, that's a well-known thing. What we're doing is we think we're the first and the best way of doing this via crypto, which is so powerful, because it it's the right relationship of control and power between the customer and the merchant. It puts all the value into the customer's hands, so they feel it the best. And really, by being that, merchants that do that will be rewarded by their behavior. So it's we're building on age-old merchant principles here, and then executing in a sort of cutting, bleeding edge way using the Waves blockchain. That's sort of the overview of it.
Yeah, well, that sounds good. Brick and mortar businesses could use it. Online businesses could use it. That's pretty awesome. So we spoke about how secure it is. We spoke about the security, the databases, how it works, right? What's that called? Firebase. Firebase.
Yeah, it's run. It's now a Google team, so it's part of part of the Google setup. It's a Google company, and if you're interested in if you're thinking of being a developer or anything like that, take a good look, because it's a really fantastic set of infrastructure tools.
If I was selling something like seeds, how would I get my product on your service?
So if you're selling, so if you have no electronic setup at all at the moment, if you're just you're selling something from your garage,
Right.
and you've got customers through word of mouth, well, the first thing we need is some sort of inventory. So you need to have some kind of inventory. We would be encouraging you to probably at the same time set up a store. So I would imagine that in the case that a merchant has no e-commerce at all, we might well say, look, let's, why don't you get a Shopify account and get a store online? And the reason we'll be encouraging that is because there are lots of fundamental questions that need to be answered to sell anything electronically. Such as stock levels, photos, things like this. But if you ultimately, if you just want to keep doing what you're doing but still issue Incent, all we need is we need some integration of the transactions as they occur. So we've spoken about how that would be through your e-commerce provider. We've spoken about how that could be through your POS system, and then we will be developing a merchant app. So that would allow people who are sort of purely cash businesses, really, who didn't want to do any sort of online or electronic selling.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would take care of our side of things, where they need to register the sales. They need to get something off of the customer. So we need some record to be able to onboard the customer. Typically, that would be either a email address or a mobile number, cell phone number. We can then, our onboarding system can then, kick into gear, and that can happen. But basically, it is applicable. We're not at this stage. We're not going to go sort of massively broad. We don't really. It's not that we don't want. Perhaps having 1,000 merchants coming onto the Incent platform would be terribly exciting, but it would be it's not necessarily the best first step. We're really talking to larger commercial providers, and we really want to get the point really of the ICO is to get the tools built out and to get the first customers sort of online and selling, and therefore the value in the token itself growing. And then from there, we can get a bit more strategic about, do we want to focus on, which market sectors do we want to focus on? And I'd say that's actually a strength of the team, not just myself, but other people involved, more in business and business development. It's really important that you get those decisions right, that you don't focus on trying to get blood out of stones in terms of the wrong sectors. So we hope and expect to be very smart and focused on getting the right people onto Incent in order to preserve and really grow the value of the token.
I actually know somebody he's waiting for you guys to come out because he wants to use it in his business. And there's a lot of people in the crypto space that own their own businesses. So I'm not going to mention his name, but I'm not sure if he wants me to. So I'm not going to do that at the moment. But he sells a certain thing to offices and such, and he's waiting for you guys to come out so that he can put in this incentive program into his online platform where he sells online also.
Well, that is tying in. You're not the first to say that, believe it or not. It's tying in. There's a definite feel. I mean, obviously I'm a member of the team, so I'm going to not just feel positively about it, but I'm trying to look sort of analytically. We are hearing real positivity from commerce, from the merchants, from the market. People, this is a problem that people have. They wish to offer some sort of loyalty scheme. And if you look on, Shopify and Magento, you'll find there are loads of loyalty type plugins, but they all work in slightly different ways. They all require a lot of sort of configuration or thought or setup. And they all, well, not all, but they almost all only exist within a complete walled garden of your customers, of your business, which is, we're back to that same problem. If I open my wallet now, I've got 7 or 8 loyalty schemes. And actually, the only one I use is for the local coffee place because they give me a free cup of coffee once a week. The rest I ignore.
Right. Yes. And most people, 7-Eleven does it over here in New York. They have these little cards. They clip little. They use a hole puncher. Or their special hole puncher with a design in it, and every time you get 7 punches, you get a free tiny cup of coffee, which is like 3 gulps. Um, so it's definitely used by everybody. I mean, even cereal boxes have it, where they have like a little point system on the side where you rip off the points and you send them in for rewards. So every big company uses reward systems, and I think this. I know you said that you have bigger companies, but I think it's a better solution for smaller people that it to get involved with these type of reward systems. It costs them a lot of money to do that. uh, it probably costs them more in the beginning than what they get out of it, if for like a mom and pop shop to get involved with some type of loyalty program, because there's always these fees. So
Yeah, there's money, there's the cost of that, and then I suspect what you'll find also is that their most valuable asset is their time. They're probably working, being business owner operators, they're probably working long hours as it is. And the last thing that you want to tell them is, sure, here's a setup that works. It'll only take you a couple of weeks to set up and configure, and then it'll off you go. Just not gonna happen. It's not realistic.
all right, so let's say I own the bakery, right? Which isn't very far fetched. I own the bakery, right, and I'm selling perishable items. How can I utilize these rewards for my customers? And let's just say I'm a cash business.
Yeah, okay. So let's assume that you're a cash business, and in fact, let's say you have a till though, because that's going to make life easier in this example. So you've got a till. You ring up, probably for all kinds of business and tax reasons. You chalk up every transaction into a till, and it tells you what change to give the customer, etc., etc.
Right. Okay. And and
Okay.
I and then I give the IRS separate receipts, or only half of them.
No doubt. Yeah. Okay. So, and you want to do this loyalty. You want to special on donuts, where if you buy, you buy a dozen donuts, we're gonna give you 5 Incent, or we're gonna give you $1 worth of Incent, something like that. So 10% off. So how would that work? Well, first of all, the customer needs to identify themselves in some way. So you might train your till staff to use the POS integration to say, hey, do you want this reward? Do you want to give me an email address or a cell number? And then if they do that, what happens is that customer then receives a message or receives an email, and that begins the onboarding process to the Incent platform, where they then effectively they can see their Incent balance. They've got their dollars worth of Incent. They're away. If you want to do redemption, then it's going to be a second stage where you're going to need something for that customer to say, hey, I've got all this Incent. Can I buy some donuts? I've been coming in here every morning buying a dozen donuts. I think I've got a free half dozen or something. And the POS person says, sure, just, you redeem here, scan, tap. Essentially that's an e-commerce transaction that then occurs.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and
So all they have to do is give you an email address or phone numbers, because that's my next question. What kind of information do my customers have to give you? Like what a lot of people aren't willing to give up any information, sort like myself. Usually it's all fake.
Yeah, well, yeah, you're not wrong. You can, and people will be wary because, of course, they'll be worried that you're going to market the bejesus out of them. You're going to start spamming them with all sorts of nonsense. We can't get around that. We have to identify the customer, because effectively what's happening here is the merchant is providing value to that customer. Now, once they come on board, they'll be invited to learn more about Incent and what information Incent stores and why, as they go. But it's at pains that information is sort of related to the value that they're being offered. So without being too cheesy about it, we hope that they're incentivized to take that. They're saying, look, we've effectively got some digital value here. Go ahead, claim it.
Well,
And
well, technically, if it's only a phone number, which could be done anonymously through, I believe it's a red phone, or an email address, which can also be anonymous. I mean, what other information would you need?
well, none. So yes, if you had if you had an anonymous email address, Hushmail or some such, um, that would be sufficient for us to issue the incent. You then have cryptographic control of it. It's on the Waves platform, so you can do the you can interact with it completely anonymously. There are some in terms of how you go about selling the incent, or if you're converting to cash or exchanging to certain tokens, there may be requirements that come in there, some of which will be inherited by Waves, some of which may be by our banking partners. If we're going to be sending cash to you, you wish to sell back your incent, or the mark, you're going to need to identify yourself a little further, or you're going to need to provide enough information for that transaction to happen. But the key bit here is you start off with a very white hat. You start off saying, we don't want to know about you. We need to give you something. In the same way that, and it's expected, or we would hope that people can buy into that. And then the idea is that it's a very smooth path to allow the customer to get to know, what is this platform? Oh, look, it's offering me this. Oh, wow, hang on, I can use this. I just got some incent for donuts. I can actually buy a coffee around the corner. That's good. I want that coffee. Here I go. That's an example of it working.
Right. Well, I could understand if you wanted to keep it, keep it in cash, of course. Cash, we all know how big Federal Reserve notes are. But how about if you just wanted to keep it in Bitcoin? So what I'm saying is, you get your tokens, and is it possible to just send it to an exchange and get your Bitcoin?
Yeah, within the team. We've been discussing this quite actively recently. We don't envisage developing those sorts of functionalities ourselves, because if listeners will sort of appreciate that if we start to say we're going to do everything, it's a bit, well, frankly, suspicious, really. So we're looking very closely at Shapeshift, whom we're pretty familiar with, and like what they're doing. And there are other providers a bit like Shapeshift. Essentially, once the incent token is on the Waves blockchain, then a tool like Shapeshift, or an exchange, can be used to exchange the value. So sure, if you wanted just to whack it into Bitcoin and then go to an ATM, a Bitcoin ATM, and withdraw it, that would be perfectly possible following a Shapeshift integration on our end, which is, we're actively looking at that at the moment. We see that as a win. The whole point of the incent token is for it to be very transferable. It's on the Waves blockchain. Store it, keep it the way you want to. By default, it's in a cloud wallet. It's on the Waves blockchain, powered through the Incent app, which is, you could call it the Incent wallet. But if you want to press a button and convert that into Ether and make some smart contracts, that can be achieved through Shapeshift. If you want to have cash, you can transfer it to Bitcoin and sell it, or you can sell it on the Waves exchange for cash. So the idea is that it's very, very portable. I mean, essentially, that's one of the key benefits of crypto generally, right? And we very much want to bring that to the product. So yes.
Oh, all right. Well, that's it. I do see a possibility for anonymity still, or at least privacy, because we know that's two different things. But
well, I'd say this as well, that if you're interested, if people like the sound or the feeling of incent, there's if you like, the secondary market. So we spent a lot of time talking about how we're going to get incent into the hands of people who don't necessarily know much about crypto right now. And the answer is every time they buy a donut, because people do know about donuts. They're going to keep buying donuts. They can have some crypto. There's also the holding of incent as an asset, as an appreciating asset, because essentially we're going to pump value into the incent ecosystem by onboarding and developing relationships with merchants. Now, if you want to buy incent for Bitcoin completely anonymously, then of course that is possible. We don't really have a dog in that fight. I won't say it's a good thing, but it's definitely not a bad thing from our point of view. Using the ICO process will allow 50% of the incent market to be held by people for whom that we don't store information about. Effectively, that they've just provided Bitcoin, so they'll go through a registration. Yeah, exactly. It's exactly the same registration process that they did for Waves. So we work closely and are working closely with that team. Yeah, that's actually more likely. Yeah.
All right. I think we've gone over basically everything. You said something about 50% of all the tokens will be used. It's something like an umbrella, right?
I'm happy to keep talking. I should just say that it's no longer telling me it's being recorded. Do you want to just check that? I don't know if that matters.
Oh yeah, it does matter. Hello? All right. Is that the one you heard?
That's the one.
Yeah, it's all right. That's a backup recording just in case the main one doesn't work. So
cool.
Yeah, I just in case something goes wrong with one, I always have the other recording. So we never lose a show. Yeah. All right. So so I was saying the 50% of this 50% of the tokens thing. Tell me about that. How does that work?
Yeah, so this is really quite a lot of work and thought and consultation, advice, research has gone into the structure of exactly what should Incent be. People will be familiar with the non-inflationary nature of Bitcoin. There's only 21 million of them or whatever, and there can only be that many, and it's an important property. So when we approach the ICO, this is largely led by Rob, by the way, who will talk to you in much further detail. And you can read the white paper and you can read the sort of some of the workings of the system at incentloyalty.com. But the gist of it is this, that non-inflationary is important. If we were to just issue new Incent forever, well, there's nothing to, that's a problem because the value will,
I would call you the federal government, federal Incent.
Exactly. We'd be in the same boat as fiat, all sorts of trouble. And most importantly, investors would have no security, right? They'd have no confidence that, okay, I've just bought, I'm buying, I support this system. I'm going to give a Bitcoin. If I give one Bitcoin on the first day of the ICO, I get X number of Incent. I don't want there to be, a gazillion more Incent being made up, daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. So anyway, what we settled on is that the ICO, we're not setting the property of incentives for us. We're not setting the number that will be issued. We're going to take funds received at ICO. We're going to distribute those Incent, and then we're going to create. That will be 50% of the total Incent to market. So the remaining 50% will be issued by us and held by us and used in operations, etc., etc. But take an example where where there's a $50 million worth or 50 million Incent bought at ICO. That will cap the total number of Incent at 100 million, and that will be verified through the Waves. It's essentially because it's on the Waves platform. The nature of that issuance comes, we inherit that from Waves, but it's a really solid way of making sure that it's non-inflationary. It's out there, it's public, and it's got some room to sort of breathe a little bit. That's the 50%, but it's not
right.
It's not going to. yeah, it's not gonna be issued. We're not going to be just printing quantitative easing and pushing money into the or pushing Incent into the Incent economy at will.
So that makes sense. So it's a pool, basically. Whatever the merchant pays, or whatever gets pulled out to pay customers gets put back in by the merchant eventually. So it's always there, that 50%.
That's it. That's a very good way of describing it. And as I said, Rob's the man to sort of go into further detail on this front. I think the main point is that it's non-inflationary. I think that's a really, really important property, and it makes it very exciting to get some of this stuff, which is, I mean, really the value from Incent, the things that will affect it will be the number of active users, classic sort of metrics for startups, the number of people transacting in Incent, and we'll be onboarding merchants. And really, it's when a merchant comes on and brings on, X number of customers, obviously the number of active users increases and possibly spikes. We're going to end up with a lot more. Which is adding value to the current holders of Incent, at quite a rate. Look, you can't really crystal ball and second guess, but it's perfectly reasonable to think that as merchants come on, the value increases, and the people who've got in early have sort of got the option to make a tidy gain along the way, and that's certainly what we'd be hoping for.
Cool. It sounds like a good plan. I like it. It provides security for investors also. So, I think we covered basically a lot. Is there anything you'd like to add that maybe we missed?
No, I like. Look, I quite enjoy these processes. So look, we'll perhaps do this again. We can focus more on any one individual area. Feels like we've covered a lot of ground. What I'm really keen to get across is that this is quite a mature process. There's been quite a lot of thought and work and effort gone into it. We're at a stage now where we're really excited to be talking about it. And obviously, thank you for having me. And it's a pleasure to be here, and happy to come back and talk about any sort of more focused aspect anytime.
Yeah, I think we should do a Q&A. I have a few questions. We didn't really promote the show. We did it on a whim. So I kind of I do have a couple of questions from people, but I kind of want to hold off for a Q&A, specifically from people, for you to answer, directly to the investors, or people interested in the technology. Maybe we'll take a couple. We'll take two questions. Sound good?
Okay, for sure. No worries.
How exactly does it work with Waves? I think we covered that. But
well, no, it's worth saying, yeah. So how exactly? Well, Waves provides the blockchain, and essentially Waves provides either APIs or remote procedures. It's, right as of right now, we're very excited for the Waves mainnet to be getting up. This is an important milestone. We're looking forward to that, and there's the way, if you look at the way we're planning to release the funds invested at ICO, there's the Waves integration. So the issuance of Waves is the first milestone. So the issuance of Incent is the first milestone. Really, they're tracking in quite a predictable and quite a solid fashion. I know there's some disquiet about the way they're tracking and communication, but from my point of view, they're moving along in a way that I would expect, and I'm more than happy with their progress. Incent will be a token on the Waves blockchain, so we fundamentally we await some functionality release from Waves in order to make some of this possible. But we're working very, very closely with them, and we're very confident. We're very pleased with our partnership, really, or our choice of Waves as a blockchain. So very excited.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited about Waves also. They're also a partner of Core Media, so we market for them. We do marketing. I also do it for specific people, and I think it could be great. You know what it is? I think Sasha will really bring a strong, headstrong, uh, conclusion. Where most of these projects never end. And you hear about it's coming soon, and then all of a sudden they're going on to something else, and something
Well,
else that's
yeah.
new, and that bothers me. That really bothers me a
Well, I
lot.
think there's something exciting about it's one of the reasons that gets me most motivated for Incent, actually, which is that we're all about deliverables, really. We want to get out there and evangelize and to get on board merchants. Now, once you've got merchants on board, it's a fantastic head of steam. It's a great motivator. It's these guys are out there buying and selling, and what we're hearing is they want to be supported by a platform like Incent on the Waves blockchain. So we're very excited to be pulling them in, and then that creates it starts to create more and more and more momentum, all moving in the right direction. Basically, that's the way I see it.
Yeah, no, it's a great thing for crypto in general. I mean, getting normal people to use it is the first step. There's really no other way of doing it, or having them understand it. There's no better way than actually using it. And whether it looks like a point system or not, it doesn't matter because they'll be using it.
That's exactly it. It doesn't, they'll be on crypto. They may not know it, but they will love the benefits.
Exactly. We'll take another question. How can other blockchains utilize your Incent rewards feature for their coin?
Yeah, so this is now we're delving right into the sort of crypto-centric part of the discussion, I guess, which is that it's a very important part to us, but it's so are merchants and so are consumers. If the operators of an exchange or the people behind certain coins wanted to issue Incent to encourage people to transact in their particular flavor of crypto, there'd be nothing stopping that. This actually also hints to, we didn't really cover it, but of course, as well as bricks and mortar and donuts and t-shirts, you can also look at digital goods and indeed services. We're having conversations with a number of service providers who cannot issue Incent. So it's the issuance of Incent against something non-tangible. But to answer your question, if you want to incentivize people to hold or transact in a particular coin using Incent, sure, there's no problem with that. Some of that functionality may be directly powered. If you want to allow people to transfer in and out from Incent, that's going to be a partnership with someone like Shapeshift. If you want to encourage people to take certain actions on exchanges, then there's no reason why you can't, issue Incent against that. No big barrier. Look, I suppose that what I'd say is have a good read of the white paper, so you've got your head fully around exactly the way in which it works and what it is, and then get in touch, and we'd love to hear from you. We'll talk to you about where how and how we see it applying to your use case, and working with you on when that can happen. But in principle, no barrier.
No, that's sweet. So it could be utilized as a feature for other blockchains out there, say Blocknet, or because I know they have a decentralized exchange also implemented coming out, and Decent, who actually sells content, directly from the source without having any middlemen, which is the whole idea behind that. Or even library, or any of those that actually sell something could possibly implement this feature into their system.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think that's if you look just around the corner, if you say, okay, let's assume that an appropriate resource comes in through ICO, let's assume that merchants, that the Incent starts being issued by perhaps a dozen or 24 merchants. Suddenly, then you've got a very broad range of opportunities, because the Incent as a token starts to accrue. It's not that it accrues massive value. It's yes, the value may rise, but beyond just the literal, beyond just the pure cost, if you like, or the pure value, like what is the dollar value of an Incent, there's also the how useful is it. It starts to be used in various places. And I think we had a little chat earlier, didn't we, about micro payments, about the fact that it's almost a shame that Bitcoin offers huge potential in that regard, but no one's quite made it work. All the various tipping apps and things like that.
Right. Yep.
So that is a space that that we would tread carefully, but one could certainly imagine that Incent could have a role to play. Yeah, particularly as the bridge between the crypto token and the real world. And if someone says, tip in Incent or use Incent to buy content or buy content from a decentralized asset platform, receive Incent and go and have a donut, that and feel good about it because you've supported decentralized culture, which is something that I think we're probably all preaching to the choir there. It's vital.
Yep, I agree 100% that we have to decentralize our lives. That's one of the main goals in this whole cryptopia, or cryptocopia, for that matter.
You just made up a word right there.
No, actually that's real. There's a whole Slack channel, called Cryptocopia. They're very crypto minded people. I actually enjoy that Slack channel a lot.
I shall seek it out. It sounds good.
Yeah, definitely a good place to talk to people, get ideas. They're very there's a lot of investors there, but there's also a lot of traders, and there's a lot of developers also. SuperNet Slack also has a lot of developers in it. A lot of geeky people like ourselves who could give ideas. Who could give feedback if you ever need feedback. But that being said, I think we're gonna end it here. No more questions. We'll take them next time in a Q&A session after people get to listen to what you've had to say. I think they could formulate questions better at that point. And yeah, great job, man. I mean,
sounds good. Well, no, thank you.
I really
thank you very much for
you.
having me. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me. I look forward to popping back and coming again. We'll do it again. And that's me signing off. So thank you very much.
All right, brother. You have a great night. All right, and I'll talk to you soon.
Waves Platform is a decentralized platform with loads of real-world solutions running on blockchain. Wavesnode.net is providing a professional node on the Waves platform, hosted in our own data center. If you are holding Waves tokens, you can lend them with the LPOS system to our big node. The leased tokens are always in your account and under your control. It is like leasing staking power. By leasing on our powerful, stable and trustful node, you are generating transfer fees and will be rewarded with Waves. The bigger our node's balance, the higher your rewards. Wavesnode.net can help you achieve increasing your stack and making the Waves platform stronger in just a few easy steps. So please, open your Waves Lite client and lease your tokens at wavesnode.net. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at wavesnode.net.